Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make deep, funky, minimal house like KornÃ KovÄ. Sorry if I said that wrong. As usual, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets and all that stuff in this video in the description. And if you're Patreon on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Yeah, let's get started. So this is the loop you heard in the intro. We're at 122 BPM. First sound I have here is the kick, which sounds like this. This is pretty simple here. You can see we just have like this punchy sort of 808 style kick. And then I pitched that up a little bit. So you can see I've got the tuner here. It's being tuned to G. That's the key we're in. Like if you listen to. There we go. So it's the same note as that first bass note. That's the key we're in. And yeah, with this scene one, you know, it's really more about the style of sound you choose. Like this is what you want. Just like a really deep, still powerful and still very punchy, but just kind of softer and more minimal style kick like this. And then I've got to go into a drum bus, so this really helps with the punch. Here's without it. And then with it, so you can hear that really takes it from just like a doom doom and makes it more like doom, like really hitting. I got the transients turned up and I've got the drive and the crunch up pretty high as well. And that is it for the kick. Next thing that we have here is the bass, which sounds like this. So here's the pattern. You can see it's really pretty simple. It's just following G actually, and then it's like all about that rhythm where you have like the one note in the first bar, and then when the second bar comes, all of a sudden there are all these extra notes. You know, it's kind of like letting it breathe a bit, and then giving like all that stuff at once. So yeah, and then for the sound on this one, it's actually very simple. All this is I made it an operator. You can see it's just a square wave with this kind of short volume envelope on it, and then that's going into a low pass filter, and the low pass also has an envelope on it. Or excuse me, the low pass does not have an envelope, but it does have this shaper on it. So the shaper here is just kind of like beefing this up a bit. I don't have any effects on this, you know. Usually with these more minimal sort of bass lines, they tend to be kind of softer and more deep, so you don't really need a whole lot of stuff to make it super fat. But the shaper actually does a pretty good job with that. Here's without it. And then with it. So you can hear what that's doing. It's really beefing it up. And yeah, I mean, this is basically just a distortion, so it's the same thing as if I put saturator or like a drum bus or something on there. But yeah, that is it for the bass. So I have the kick and the bass in a group together, and then I just have a drum bus on that. Here's without that. And then with it. So you can hear it just helps the line kind of come together a bit more and be a bit fatter and tighter sounding. You can see I just have the drive and the crunch up a bit. I've got that on the medium setting, so it's a bit harder than normal. And I've also got the transients up on that a little bit. So it's helping with the punch on that kick and even with the punch on the bass a little bit. Next sound we have here is this lead, which sounds like this. So I'll show you the MIDI for this one. It's really simple. I was going for just something like this. It's basically just three notes. It's just C, D, and F. And then I also have an F sharp down there. Or an F down there, I mean. But it's an octave down, so it's kind of just mixing it up. It's like, if we don't have that, it's kind of just the same thing the whole way through. You can hear that when we do have that note down an octave. Then when we get to the F over here, it's a little bit more interesting because we haven't heard that yet. So yeah, and for the sound on this one, I'm really using analog. What this is it's just two sine waves here. You can see I have the second one up 7 semitones, so it's a fifth up. This is very important for the sound actually. If I turn that off, you can hear it really doesn't have that same kind of sound. And something also that I'm doing here is you can see I have pitch envelopes on each of these two oscillators. So this is something else. I was going for like the secret type of vibes. And this is something he did in that track for that lead. It's basically just taking like this basic sine wave lead like without these, you can hear. It's really straightforward. But then you add these pitch envelopes onto the oscillators, and it kind of brings it to life, you know, it makes it more like fun and kind of alive sounding. So typically, with a lot of synths actually, you would just have one pitch envelope on both oscillators, but in this case, we've got one on each of them, you know. Pretty simple stuff. But yeah, and then at the amp envelope set like this, it's important to make this actually pretty short and tight, because if you let it be too long, it just doesn't sound as good to me as when it's like really tight and controlled like that. And the only other thing we haven't set in the synth here is just a bit of vibrato. You can hear that's subtle, it's just giving it a bit more life. And yeah, after that we have this chorus. Here's without that. And then with it, so you can hear this is just kind of spreading the sound out a bit, making it a bit bigger. It also helps to make it fit into the mix a bit better, because it's not just straight down the center anymore. It's kind of split out. So now we have like the bass line and a lot of the drums straight down the center. But this is a bit wider and just kind of puts it in a different place in the mix. After that I have this echo, just doing down in eighth notes. I like using echo for songs like this because you get, like, it's very similar to reverb, honestly. Like, it's not super, like, pronounced delay, but it's just a little bit more, like, behind. Like, if I used reverb for the same kind of thing, it would sound just a little bit too, like, even like that already, I feel like that's a bit too overbearing, but this does a very good job of kind of sitting underneath the sound and not getting in the way so much. After that, I have a bit of drum mass fattening it up. Here's without that. And then with it. And then we just have an auto filter. Just doing a bit of a high pass there, cutting out some lawn. And that is it for the lead. The next thing that we have here is this chord, which sounds like this. So these are the chords you can see. These are just basic major and minor chords. We have D sharp major, F major, and then C minor. So yeah, and this is just kind of providing like some extra musical stuff. What's happening here is we have a bass line which like you can hear the bass line doesn't so much communicate, I feel like, the direction this is going or like the emotion of the song, if that makes any sense. Like, the bass line is very rhythmic and almost kind of percussive. And then this lead is really just like an extra thing, right? Like, that's not really, like I said, like communicating sort of the feeling that's going on here. So that's where these chords come in. You can hear already, like, when we go to that, from this chord to that chord, for example, it just gives it a lot more, like, direction and kind of like sets the mood for the track. So yeah, for the sound on this one, I'm mainly using analog. This one's really simple. It's just two sine waves here, detuned, and then I have those just going into the amp envelope, which is set like this. So we got like brr, and then it kind of fades out as opposed to just ringing out the whole way through. Then the only other thing we haven't set in the synth there is just a bit of vibrato. You can hear that one. And yeah, after that we have a bit of chorus. Here's without it. And then with it, so you can hear with this sound, it helps to really just make it a lot smoother. And kind of spread it out and put it in the background a little bit more like it did with that lead. And then the last thing we have on there is just this auto filter cutting out some lawn. And that is it for the chords. The next thing that we have here is this hi-hat, which sounds like this. So this is pretty simple. You know, it's more about sample selection. Like in this case, you just want like a very kind of sharp, hard-hitting hi-hat like this. Here is... yeah, there's the original sample. I have it going through. There's no effects on this, but there's some effects on the group that are making it sound quite different. And yeah, the next thing that we have here is this rim shot, which sounds like this. So you can hear this is kind of like that groovy sort of percussion that you're hearing in the background throughout the track. This is really important. If I turn this off, this really doesn't have as much groove, I feel like. Like, the rim shot is just really giving it more groove and kind of more flow in the beat overall. So what we got going on here is you can see I have these two little things. I have like this one down here, which is just like playing on the 2 and the 4. And then I have these notes up here. So I have the kind of two different pitches. It's a nice way to get a little bit more mileage out of one sound. Because I wanted to layer up the clap. The clap is playing on the 2 and the 4. But you can hear with that riff chant under it, it really fills it out. But then we also have kind of like the higher ones bouncing around. And then I also have this add some random on here. So this is just a preset for Ableton's MIDI velocity effect. And what's happening here is it's just making it like have random velocities. So it's kind of a simple way to give it some variation, because if we turn this off, you can hear it's just kind of the same velocity the whole way through. Which sounds cool. But obviously this has a lot more life to it. So yeah, and you could sit there and just like make each one a different velocity. But I like this because it's really, truly making it random throughout the track. Like, if we take this and make it, you know, into a full track, it's never going to be exactly the same thing twice. And that's what I like so much about kind of doing it this way, as opposed to just randomizing it by hand. The next sound we have here is the clap, which sounds like this. So this is really simple. It's just like this nice kind of like punchy hand clap style sound. After that, we have this tambourine. So this one is just like literally that. I just took it in here. You can see I stretched it out a little bit. And then I also have this on the beats warp mode. So what this is doing is, if you listen, you can hear it. It's doing a bit of a transient shaper. You can see I have this preserved transient set here. And then we have this on this one. And then this is basically like the transient shaping. So if I turn this up, you can hear we're just tightening the sound. So it's kind of a nice way to dial it back a bit, because if we turn that up, you can hear it doesn't fit in the mix as well. But then with it, it fits kind of more in the background there. And then for effects on that, I just have a drum bus, just beefing it up a bit. And then I also have this auto filter, which is just cutting on some lawn. Sometimes these tambourines can have a bit of lawn. And that is it for the tambourine. So then I have all that percussion in a group. We've got a bit of processing on the group. I'll show you here is with nothing. And then with everything. So you can hear what everything's doing there. So the first thing we have is this erosion. Here's without it. And with it, so you can hear this is really helping to give everything like this even kind of crunchy texture. Like, when you put something like this that's so sharp on top of every percussion at once, it really makes all the percussion sound like it fits together a lot better. And it's like, if you listen to all these sounds, there's nothing about them that makes them particularly like kind of similar. It's just the way that I process them and the way that I put them together and tried to make them sound like they fit together that does it. So this is basically, that's a very long-winded way of saying that this is very helpful for that. Again, you can hear it's just giving everything that same kind of even, cohesive texture. And it also gives everything a bit more mid-range as well. It's kind of like fattening everything up. After that, I have this auto filter. Here's without this. And with this, this is really, really subtle. But what it's doing is, you can see I have a little bit of a resonance boost right at the peak here. And this is just cutting like the very high highs. So this just helps to give it a little bit more of that kind of nice lo-fi quality. Like, yeah, you can hear it. So it's really subtle, but this is definitely a good thing if you want to give your drums kind of a more lo-fi texture like this. Like, having that resonance boost right at the peak there just really helps to solidify that, if that makes any sense. After that, we just have a drum bus that's just fattening everything up. I've also got the damp on that a little, so you can hear that's doing that final kind of like high-end cut. Just really making this like fat and mid-rangey. And then the last thing I have on here is an EQ8, which is just cutting out the low, and it's also cutting out some low mid-range. You can hear just kind of making this a little bit less muddy. And yeah, that is it for the percussion, and that is going to be it for this one, guys. So, I hope you all enjoyed. as always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Let me know which style you want to see me do next. As always, you get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets and all that stuff in this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's available already. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video.